Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad I'm here talking to you. Finally, it's been about a month. I have been running around in the yard today, and I probably look like that, but I it's been like a month and I have a lot of things to share, and like, what time is better than right now? So I had an evening by myself. Tuki is sleeping inside the house. I'm usually outside here with her adventure vest, and on a leash because she is an adventure cat. So I thought before the sun sets, it's probably 7:30 at night, I would update you on what I've been reading, what I've been up to. I'll save at the end, I'll save a couple life updates and trips that we've been on, so that if you're just here for the books, then you don't have to figure out where that is. All right, so I don't even know where I left off in what I was reading, so I'm just going to pick up where I think I left off. And that is that, yes, I'm still reading Trollope. I think I left off just in the glow of having finished the Eustace Diamonds, which I felt was like clearly the best Trollope I was ever going to read. And then I picked up, I might have shown this, I picked up a used copy of the next book, which is Phineas Redux, or Redo, I think they say in Britain, Redux, and it's just in such great condition. I don't mind breaking a spine of a book. That's I know, a topic that people talk about sometimes, and I don't really care. But I'll talk about this a little bit because I think I may or may not have said in my last video that I wanted to take a Trollope with me on vacation, and I'm hearing that the shooting range has started their evening shooting. So I think there's like a state police shooting range somewhere in the woods, in this wooded area. There's so much echo that it sounds like it's right down the street. So apologies for that. It wasn't that way when I first started. Okay. And I read, so I have this in progress and I'm loving it. Trollope calls it his second political book, and his first book was Phineas Finn. And yeah, they're getting into politics. Phineas is trying to come back to London and trying to get back into politics on the urging of his friends now that his wife unfortunately passed away. But it's not too heavy politics. I felt like Phineas Finn, when I was reading it in the order of the series, felt like it was a little too heavy, and but this one doesn't, and maybe it's just because now I'm used to it and I know Phineas and I liked him and I'm glad he's back. So and we do get new characters, but we also get Madame Goesler, I don't remembering the name, but everybody's here, and some new people too. So that's in the works, and that is the book that I took on my scuba vacation. I wanted to take another Trollope because the first Trollope I read, which was The Warden, I took on my first scuba trip to Bonaire. So I wanted to take another one when we went to Bonaire. I also recently finished Chasing Hare by, I don't know the name. I'll put it here. It's a pretty popular book. It's Tuki's awake. Hi, Took. Hi. I'll be in a minute. In a couple minutes. She looks disappointed that I'm out here and she's not out here. But it's a memoir about the author's experience in the country, isolated during the pandemic. I think she is a She's usually in the city, but she goes to this house in the country, and I don't know, I'm assuming it was her house, I don't remember now, or a family house where she's alone. And she comes upon a leveret, and that is a type of hare, if I'm remembering that correctly. And you learn in this book through her research the difference between rabbits and hares and leverets and jackrabbits even, and how that name came up. I felt like I was being pulled out of the story whenever she would use her research to add to the story, but I got used to that. At first I was like, oh, clear delineation, like I can see your research. I just want to get back to the story. What happens with the leveret? And I think the story starts off with the leveret in trouble, which is how she gets involved. And I think she goes to her friend or sister who's a veterinarian because the leveret needs help, but she doesn't want to give it too much help to turn it into a domestic animal. And she finds that balance, and she's with this leveret for a long time. And a lot of things happen in the leveret's life. And I felt the way that I feel about animals in nature. It really brought me closer to that feeling that I love, which is that we have so much in common. And that's what really grabbed me in this story. I have so much love for animals, and now, and because I happen to be in a place where we're coming across animals of all kinds that are going through life stages and having babies, and building nests and things like that, whether it's turkeys or wild turkeys or baby rabbits. I really enjoyed it. I felt like I don't usually read memoirs at night, but because it was like a story, because there were times where I felt like this is not a good comparison, but I felt the same way as I did when I was reading Watership Down. Even though it's a memoir, I felt so close to her experience with the leverets. I was just so glad to be in that space. I found myself reading it at night, and uh, and just being so happy reading a memoir that felt like a story. So I highly recommend it. And I have library books that I've just picked up, and I have more waiting for me. And I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but I will share a couple of them because let me see, is there a contender in here? Yeah, I did dip into this one because I am a fan of Kevin Wilson. I read, it's not Nothing to See Here, he did write that, but I read Now Is Not the Time to Panic, whenever that came out, a summer or two ago, and I loved it. And I started reading this one. An unexpected road trip across America brings a family together in this raucous and moving new novel. Ever since her dad left them 20 years ago, it's been just Madeline Hill and her mom on their farm in Coalfield, Tennessee. Well, it's a bit lonely, she sometimes admits, and a less exciting life than what she imagined for herself. It's mostly okay. Mostly. Then one day, Reuben Hill pulls up in his PT Cruiser and informs Madeline that he believes she's his half-sister. He hasn't seen his dad in a long time either, and it looks like they go on a road trip. So I don't know if this will be the time for me to read this, but I might dip into this. As I said, I read the first few pages, and it was like typical Kevin Wilson, where, I don't know, it's so conversational. I love his sentence structure. He has a way of describing things in a very light and casual way, but it puts you in the setting of wherever he is writing about so easily, so effortlessly. So I may dip into that. And then I got this out called Sleep by Honor Jones. And I've heard a couple people talk about Honor Jones. Who? I don't know. This must be her first book. She's a senior editor at The Atlantic. She lives in Brooklyn with her 3 children. I don't know if I'll get to this one, but I did look this up again to see, like, why did I pick this? Every parent exists inside of 2 families simultaneously, the one they were born into and the one they have made. 10-year-old Margaret hides beneath a blackberry bush in her family's backyard while her brother hunts for her in a game of flashlight tag. Hers is a childhood of sunlit swimming pools and Saturday morning pancakes, but her family life requires careful maintenance. Then, late one summer, she wakes to a new kind of peril, and the simple pleasures of girlhood slip away. 25 years later, Margaret is under her parents' bed, waiting for her daughters to find her in a game of hide and seek. She's newly divorced, and so on. It sounds like a book that I might try and get to. I read a few pages on a preview, something like that, but I don't know. I think if I chose between the 2, it would certainly be the Kevin Wilson. And the last one, which is one that I'm actually reading, is Sempre Susan. I think I just heard Nathan talk about this from Nathan's Nook, a memoir of Susan Sontag. So this is written by Sigrid Nunez, who wrote The Friend, one of my favorite books, just so enjoyable. I think I read the book after The Friend. It won't be listed here. I don't know what it's called, and that was good, but The Friend was certainly my favorite of those 2 that I've read. She eventually dated Susan Sontag's son. I think her son is David. But she started off as like an assistant to Susan. She was looking for a job. She was an aspiring writer when she first met Susan Sontag, already a legendary figure known for her polemic essays, blinding intelligence, and edgy personal style. Sontag introduced Nunez to her son, the writer David Reif, and the 2 began dating. Soon Nunez moved into the apartment that Reif and Sontag shared, as Sontag told Nunez, "Who says we have to live like everyone else?" And so far, like, it's just great. I feel like I love writers writing about other writers, and you can't get any closer than the fact that Sigrid lived with Susan when she was dating David. So I think that this will continue to be a good one. I have waiting for me at the library. It's something Europe. What is it? I'll put it here. But that's on hold, and I don't even remember what that's about. And then, is it Sister Europe? I don't know. And then East of Eden. So I heard Gretchen from, I'll put her, she's a fellow Pittsburgher. I heard her talking about East of Eden, and I've heard plenty of people talking about East of Eden, but there was something about how she described the book, but also her experience in the book, that I just immediately put it on hold and said, I have to try this. East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I've only read Of Mice and Men, and it's such a short book, and the writing is beautiful and difficult. It's a difficult story, really difficult. But I don't know, it has everything against it in terms of like the types of books that I don't normally read, which are like historical fiction and family saga. I don't know. We'll see. I'm gonna go pick it up. But anyway, life updates just real quick, because this is gonna be a quick one, obviously. I can see I've only been talking for 15 minutes, but better than nothing. Went on the scuba diving trip to Bonaire with my trollop. Turned out to be the best pick I could have picked. I was supposed to be reading Whereabouts by Jean-Paul Lahari, but it was out from the library so long and it had a hold on it. I felt bad, so I returned it, but I will be reading that again this summer. I really want to experience that book again in summer. I had such a good time with it the first time. So Whereabouts from Jhumpa I will get that out again. And then we went on a really quick trip to Niagara Falls, which is about 3.5 hours north of us. Buffalo is about 3 hours away, and then Niagara Falls is only like 25 minutes north of that. The two cities are next to each other. My husband's 92 or 93-year-old mother had always wanted to visit, so a lot of his siblings met there, and including us, and we went out to dinner, and then we went on Maid of the Mist the next morning. It's such an easy thing to do. There's no reservations. You buy a ticket. They know how to handle the crowds. You never feel crowded. Plenty of room for everybody. And I'll insert some video clips here. And so there's this beautiful park, and there's beautiful gravel path along the way to the falls. There are two different falls. There's some main falls, and then there's the Horseshoe Falls. And the water that leads to the main falls is so dangerous. It's insane how powerful it builds to the actual falls, and we saw that when we got into town, but then I was able to go for a run along that path the next morning before we went to the boat, and it was so good, so good, so loud. It's so cool near the water too. So even if it's a hot day, it's still cool. The boat gets so close to the falls, and the force of the water coming down and the wind just drives all of that water into you. And it's so much fun, and we were all laughing so hard. Every single person on the boat was just laughter, because you just don't even understand what's going on. It's so worth it. Since I have talked with you, I have taught 2 fitness classes. I'd recently become a personal trainer, but also a fitness instructor certified. And I am teaching classes at the Y, and I have started a stretch and flexibility class, which is very yoga-like because that's what I love. But this really slots in to a bunch of other classes that are not stretch and flexibility. So I'm really having a good time building this 30-minute class and changing it up a little bit. Come back and conforming let me know when I try East of Eden, what's needed, and I was talking about. And I also like the creativity part of it, and whether I go for the playlist. Kevin Wilson. It's been so fun. Please let me know what you're up to this summer in June. And I look forward to continuing the conversation in the comments. I think I'm going to put together a short video about some of my favorite summer reads, because there's a lot of them. And I'd love to share them with you. So look for that video coming up soon, and I'll talk to you on the next one.